Yo, yo, hello, and welcome to the 1218 show. My name is Mike Wilson. I am your host, and welcome to another episode. Thank you for tuning in. I get a lot of people that say that I should talk about the service industry, bartending and whatnot. And I purposely don't do that because I still do it. What I mean by that is I don't like to talk about what I think is being a good customer or what or the insides of what we think on our end of it. Though I do think that people like to know and would like to know. The problem is it's all very subjective. It's there's a lot of opinions out there what people think is good service, what people don't, what they expect when they go to a place, tipping. These kinds of things are all questions that I get quite often while I'm working or just in conversation. And I just realized my collar was messed up. And I don't like to talk about it because it's a very personal thing to the individual that's usually asking the question. And then my perspective is obviously one of 20 plus years on the other side, and so when I go out, I have a whole different batch of information that I deal with rather than when most people go out. If you've never worked in the service industry, or even if you just did it for say a few months in college or whatever, there's so much. Just like in your industry, whatever your industry is, there's no way that if somebody just stepped into your world, that they would get it all right away. Sure, they might be able to perform whatever tasks are necessary, or maybe they've done some work similar or whatever. But just like everything, until you've been totally immersed in it and engulfed in it, it's hard to understand. That being said, I refrain from talking about that. Now, when the day comes that I'm retired from this industry, when I'm no longer working behind a bar or as a server or whatever the case may be, I will unload. I will let you know everything that I've ever thought, what my opinions are, how people behave, all that. That's not to say that I won't tell some stories. I'm going to tell one. This episode I'm going to tell a story about it now. But I think that it's a very personal thing. People expect different things when they go out. And the one thing that, if I was going to touch on any of it, I will say this. All places aren't created equal. Not when you walk into a sports bar, you can expect different things than when you walk into a steakhouse. And I oftentimes have noticed that people expect the same level or type of service, wherever they go, and that's just not the case. It's not. Places aren't built that way. Sports bar is built a specific way. If it's run correctly and staffed right, there's a certain level of professionalism that goes along with running a sports bar versus a steakhouse. You got a whole different batch of type employees, from food runners to your servers, your captains. For more high-end stuff, there's a captain and a waiter, and then a food runner and a bus boy or a bus person. All these different types of positions that you may not even know exist, because if you've never worked in the industry, you just go in and then stuff just happens and you're like, oh, that's, but everything has a specific job, and so when you go out, if I could make one recommendation to people that aren't really sure, is just understand what you're walking into. Be aware of your surroundings. If you're going into a little Irish pub that doesn't even have food, you're probably going to get an Irish bartender with, that's got a joke for you and a good laugh, and you'll get your beer and maybe a shot and have a good time and chuck it up. It's a totally different thing than if you walk into a Michelin star restaurant where, they're taking your coat and your bag from when you walk in the door, and your tab gets transferred from the bar to your table, and all these kinds of things. There's so many different levels of service in the type of place that you're in. and I like I said, I'll get into all this one of these days when I'm not when I'm not in the industry anymore, because I do have lots of insight and lots of things that just drive me crazy from the one perspective, and drive me crazy when I go out with other people who have no service experience, and I'm like, wow, you just really don't get it. And I think that a lot of people just don't get it. And it's okay. I mean, we on our end understand that most people don't get it. So we part of the job is being tolerable and patient and understanding. But I just wanted to tell you that that's why I haven't really delved into that particular topic on this podcast. Just because I don't want to offend anyone who still may be a friend of mine, or that comes in as a customer or a regular customer, somebody that watches or listens to the podcast that knows me, and then they come in next time and be like, man, that's something I do or something I wasn't aware of, and it was kind of insulting or whatever. I don't want to be that guy. It's not. Again, until you know, you don't know. So. But we'll talk about that someday down the road. But I figured I'd use today as another, talking about the service thing, as another NYC story. So this was several years ago. I mean, like probably 15 years ago. Long time ago, back before I was hitched. And I had a dear friend of mine who we're still friends today. But she was a model. She had been in some magazines, and she was a stunner. I mean, she walked into a room and everybody took notice. She was just one of those people. And so we went out to dinner one night, and things are often kind of weird when you walk into a place with someone like that, a head turner, because everyone takes note, and then you've got every ray of opinion. You've got people that are admirable, like, wow, that's look at that's a work of art. God created that creature. And then you've got, the jealous, frat boy across the way, and everything in between. And she was in that category. So we walk into dinner, and we're sitting down, and we have our appetizers, and we're sitting there. It's just a two-person table. It's just she and I. We're sitting there having a good conversation. And next to us is a big table. It's probably, I want to say, we sat 8. And that party came in. And our waiter had come by and, got our drinks and our appetizers out. And then he was also the waiter for the table next to us. Not particularly anything mentionable about the waiter. He was a fine waiter. He was doing his job fine. He didn't, wasn't necessarily personable or anything. He just came in and did his job. We were fine with that. But when the table next to us gets sat, he's taking all their orders and disappears, and then comes back with the drinks, and he starts kind of across the way, and he's delivering drinks all the way around. And when he gets to where his back is in between our table and this big table, he's leaning over to give on drinks, and he cuts loose a big, huge fart. I mean, this fucking dude just farted in our faces. Like, we were sitting there, and it was one of those moments like, did that just happen? And I look at her, and she looks at me, and I was like, did that fucking just happen? And she's like, did he just blow his ass in our face? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I think my fucking hair moved. And I'm like, I think so too. Like, it was a big, windy fucking fart. Now, it was one of those things where it wasn't an accident. I could tell it wasn't an accident. I don't know how I can tell you. I don't know how I couldn't prove that it wasn't an accident. I don't know how I can say this, but it was one of those weird things because, again, girls like this, women like this, weird shit happens around them all the time because people are trying to get attention or trying to demean the guy they're with, or whatever the case may be. But I was so friggin' baffled. And then, so anyway, we just kind of were just shocked. And then, our food showed up and whatever. We had a good, she's a very good humored person. Just kind of rolls with the punches. So we were laughing and had a good cut up on it. But we were just so disgusted And then when the check came, she was like, "Are you gonna tip him?" And I was like, "I'm really contemplating this right now. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do, because I know it was on purpose, and I know this fucking dude farted in our faces because I'm sitting here with you." And she's like, "I know. She's like, I don't think you should tip him." And I'm like, "That's not in my blood. It's not my makeup. I can't not tip him." So we left 10%. It's probably the only time in my adult life that I've only ever left 10%, because I just cannot. It's just, being in the service industry and so many cogs in the wheel, it's never just the server's fault. I shouldn't say never, but it's rarely just the server's fault. And there's, again, so many things that I understand that it's hard work and people are hard. Not, unless somebody's just lazy and doesn't want to do their job and they clearly don't want to be there. But that's a different, I rarely have experienced that. And even still, I just leave money. Just because it's good karma, right? I just throw it back at me. But, it comes around full circle. But I just wanted to share that story because it's one of the weird New York City stories that I don't think has probably happened to a lot of people. So if you've ever had a server fart in your face, leave me a comment on the YouTube channel. I would love to hear about it. In the meantime, I hope you're having a great week. The 4th of July is come and gone. Summer's halfway over. It's such a bummer. I love summer. I hate it when it's almost over. So we're about halfway there. I hope you're enjoying your time. I hope you're getting some sunshine, and I hope you're outside enjoying the weather. This has been another episode of the 121 Show. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate your time, and I hope all is going well for you. Take care, and oh yeah, that's why in the last podcast I said I was going to sign off with, "This is just another white boy with a podcast." Anyway, I'm just fooling with you, but anyway, my name is Mike, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. I'm not Angry Mike!